right. What is going on? I hope everybody's doing really, really well today. We are going to fire up and we're going to talk about something that affects a whole heck of a lot of people today. So I'm excited about this one just because I know this got me for years. Today we're going to talk about how guilt keeps you poor. And good Lord, does that affect so many people that I see. I'm very blessed in that I get to hang out with a lot of really smart people, really smart entrepreneurs, and I get to hang out with people that aren't really smart, but they're super driven. And so I get like this really wide cross section of really cool people. And what is really interesting is across the board, and I suffer with this to this day, but I suffer from it even less than I used to, which thank goodness. But guilt will keep you poor. And most people don't look at this, but it's something that affects just about all of us in our lives. And it's something that if you can get past and you can start seeing it for what it is, you will grow. And that is a very, very powerful thing to be able to grow because you get past this guilt, which ultimately keeps you poor. Now, before we get into how guilt keeps you poor, let me just say this. When I say poor, I don't just mean money. And I mean all kinds of things. Like, I believe if you are overweight, you are poor. And it's because you're not investing in yourself and you're not growing yourself. Now, I that may not be a popular topic, but too bad. What I mean by that is your quality of life probably suffers if you are overweight. And I'm somebody that can tell you about that because I have spent a lot of my life being overweight. And, not by a huge stretch, but I was definitely in a place where it was affecting my life. And I was very poor in a certain part of my life because of that. But I also mean monetarily, I'm talking about, hey, it's if you are, not making as much money as you want to be making and you don't have the life that you want to make. And what I mean by that is if you can't do what you want, when you want, with who you want, then you probably aren't making enough money. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with being poor in your life right now, whether it be physically, whether it be mentally, whether it be, the money that you're making. There's nothing wrong with being poor right now. That's not a bad thing. But there is something wrong if you are not happy right now and you continue to stay poor. So what we want to talk about today is how guilt keeps you poor and how you can overcome that. So let me just give you an example that's probably something going on in your life right now. Let's assume that you have kids. Those of you that don't have kids, no worries. But you've got something like this in your life, I promise. Let's assume that you have kids. And maybe some point in your life you were taking better care of yourself. You were doing a lot more things for yourself. But when you had kids, everything shifted. Everything was about those kids, right? And that's good. That's what's supposed to happen when you have kids. You're supposed to take care of them and help them grow and learn and discipline them and give them your time so that you can do these things. But there's a big, big problem that happens when you have kids. And if you don't have kids, like I said, don't worry. You'll see where this sort of comes into play. What happens to a lot of people when they have kids is they stop working out so much. They stop taking care of their bodies, okay? They stop doing things for themselves that would be mental health type things. They start taking a lot of the extra money they have and investing it in their kids instead of themselves. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. That's called being a good parent. So we have to, sort of establish where I'm at here. I'm not calling anybody out on that one. But here's what's interesting. How many times have you seen your kids' lives improve or the people that are around you, their lives improve because you improved? And this is the big thing that we all sort of get. We get guilty because when we start becoming responsible for other people, when we start taking care of other people, we stop investing in ourselves so much. We stop educating ourselves because we don't have enough time. We stop working out and taking care of our bodies because we don't have enough time. And that time we're going to invest in something else because it's for someone else. So we get into this mode at some point in our lives as to saving other people and helping other people. And what happens is we stop investing that time in ourselves because we think that is the noble thing to do. And we start getting guilty if we put time back into ourselves. Now, I don't know when this happens exactly. I think for everybody it's a little bit different. But how many of you can relate to that? How many of you can relate? By the way, if you're watching this right now and you watch these from time to time, there's a subscribe button or something live update button. Hit that button so that you'll get further from me and you'll be reminded every time I come on. Some people have told me I should be asking you to do that, right? And it's probably smart, marketer and all. So let's get back to where we're at. So at some point, we start feeling guilty about investing in ourselves. But this is the difference that I see across the board between people who stay poor, and not just money-wise, but poor in all areas of their lives, people that stay poor versus people that continue to grow. And not only do they continue to grow, they continue to bring good things into their lives of their families and their friends. The people that continue to stay poor do not invest in themselves, okay? Now, they're very generous people. Don't get me wrong. They're very generous. They're giving of their time, their money to things that those things don't help grow them. Now, the only way you can save people, the only way you can improve your life is if you save yourself first. Now, there's a reason that when you're on an airplane, they tell you to put on, if there's a mechanical problem or something's wrong with the plane, they tell you to put on your mask first before you help anybody else. And it's because you can't help anybody else if you can't breathe. And it's the same thing with your business. You can't help anybody else if you can't breathe and you don't continue to grow. So business, life, whatever it is, let's get into some specifics of how you can actually do this. So there's really two things in your life that are the direct proponents, the things that really matter when it comes to growth. So you being able to grow and get better in your life. There's really two big things that do this. It's time and it's money. Now, you may say money's not super important to me. Well, good for you. That's great. But to me, money is one of those things that if you have it, you can impact amazing change in the world. I don't think anybody can argue with me on that. If you have money, you can impact change in the world and you can shape the world into something more of what you think it should look like. Now, that may be, helping other people. And I hope it is. I hope that's where your heart is at. But that's what money comes in handy for. Time, I think that's easy. You have more time, you can do more things to grow yourself. You can do more things to help others. Those are the two things that you have to get more of. So before we get into how to get out of this guilt mode and how to make, to make real change in the world and yourself, time and money, those are the two things that we're going after. So let's get into this. Now, the difference between those that grow and those that stand still, or what happens to you when you obtain a little more time, you obtain a little more money, and how you obtain more time, how you obtain more money. So let me ask you a quick question, and I want you guys to comment in the box below. What do you do when, in your job or with whatever you do for a living, what do you do when you get an extra hour? So you get to leave work early, or, you finish a project early. What do you do when you get an extra hour? And how does that extra hour grow you? Now, are you investing it in, something for someone else? That's fine. But does that help grow the whole ecosystem? So what do you do with that extra? Now, here's the other thing. What do you do when you make an extra $100 per month? Okay, so think about that. I've got an extra $100. I got nothing to spend it on. What do you do with it? Do you put it in savings where it can't do anything for you? Now, I know everybody's like, we should save money and we should stick money back. And that's a good thing. You should stick money back. But think about it. Can that really do anything for you? What are you doing with that extra amount of money? So it's what you do with these extra things that really determine whether you stand still or whether you move forward. Now, here's some of you are going to be sitting there right now and saying, well, Bim, I'm not in a position in my life right now where I'm going to come into an extra hour in my day. I'm not in a position where I'm going to come into an extra $100 or $500 or $1,000 a month. Well, here's the thing. If you're not in a situation right now, this is just an aside. If you're not in a situation right now where any of those things are possible, where you're going to come into an extra hour, you're going to come into an extra little bit of money because you get a raise or something, how can you temporarily make your life even shittier than it is now so that you get out of the hole that you're in? What I mean by that is this. Could you get up an extra hour early and have less sleep and go to the gym? Or could you take an extra job where you're mowing a lawn and make a little extra money, but be a little more miserable temporarily to get over that hump? Okay, now I'm not telling you how to live your life, but I'm just saying, usually you can find the time, and where you're kind of like, I'm burning the candle at both ends. Well, sometimes you have to make a calculated risk. I'm going to make my life a little shittier right now so that in 2 months it's not quite as shitty and I can get over the hump. Because I know a lot of you out there feel like I can just never get ahead. I can never get more hours. I can never get more money. I can never get to the point where I'm going to get ahead. Well, if you think about it and you plan it, you're all smart. You can come up with those things. Now let's get back to our topic. What do you do when you get an extra hour in your day? What do you do when you get an extra $100 in your month? Now here's what happens with most people. Most people get an extra hour in a day and they invest it in things for other people. Okay? Now, there's nothing wrong with that. You got to do that sometimes. You invest it in other people, like you do something with your kids. Okay? So here's what I'm suggesting to you. I want, when you get that extra hour the next time, I want you to do something for yourself. Okay? I want you to go to the gym. I want you to put in an hour workout, even if you don't know what the hell you're doing. And I want you to do that. Now, this is where you go from sort of a poor mindset to more of a richer mindset. And this is going to come back to you in both time and money. Think about this. If you lost 10 pounds, and we're just going to stick with this fitness thing for a second. If you lost 10 pounds because you were investing a few hours here and there in yourself, what happens is you will actually gain even more time because you will have more energy through your day. Think about that. You just have so much energy. But if you invest some of your time, a little bit of that free time that you gain, because of whatever reason, into activities and things that will gain you more time because you have more energy, well, now you've got more time to give to others. Most people don't think it like that. They think, I feel guilty if that extra hour in my day, I don't spend it with my kids because I barely have enough time with them anyway. And so that guilt causes you to have less and less energy because if you don't spend a little time on yourself and you don't work out, you don't go walk, you don't go run, you don't lift some weights here and there, your energy gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And the world beats on you and beats on you and beats on you. And working out, whether you like it or not, whether you've ever done it before in your life, guess what? It takes you to a different place and it's an investment in yourself. It's selfish, so you feel guilty because you're like, oh, it's about me. One of the things that I learned about going to the gym and taking time for myself, not even going to the gym, but reading a book an hour a day, was that hour helped me be more giving to everyone around me. And once I learned that, I figured an hour on myself means usually I have a good 2 hours to give to other people that I wouldn't have had because I'd have been so stressed or I would have been so tired. Those are the things that when you go from a poor mindset and that guilt of, oh, I need to give every extra I have to someone else, you got to understand when you give some to yourself, you have more to give to everybody else. So that's something you have to keep in your mind. Does that make sense to everybody? I hope it does. Now here's the other thing. If you had that extra $100 a month, this is what's so hard for people. And this is where the guilt comes in and hits you again. Some people would say, you know what if that extra $100 a month, I could hire someone to come clean my house one day a month? And if you were doing, like, let's say there were $70 a week to $100 a week. What if you got an extra $400 and you invested that $400 instead of putting it in your kid's college fund right now, which many of you want to do, and I think that's awesome that you want to do that, by the way. That's being a good parent. But instead of putting that in your kid's college fund every month, what if you invested in bringing someone in to clean your house that saved you how many hours a week? Think about that. So it saved you how many hours a week? Or maybe you didn't hire a house cleaner. Maybe you hired someone to come in and cook you food. How many hours does that save you out of the week where you don't have to worry about that? Now, what happens is with those hours that you save, you are able to do other things that can make you more money because maybe you're going in, if you're not building something, maybe you're doing a service like mowing a lawn or you're helping somebody build their websites in those couple extra hours. So those couple extra hours you save because you're not cleaning your house and you're not focused on those things, because you invested that money in that, you can now make an extra $2,000 a month because you invested the $400 there. But without getting that time back, you wouldn't have been able to do that. So think about this. Because you invest that $400 a month and you find something to do with that extra time that makes you more money, now you've got that $400 for your kid's college fund plus maybe an extra $1,500. These are the things that people that are very rich in their lives and they're always growing do. They invest in themselves so that they can eventually invest in more people. So I hope have I made sort of my point here. I hope that you guys are getting this and this makes a lot of sense, because one of the big things that I think holds so many good people back, and this is it, it's good people that do this, it's not bad people, It's guilt that I'm not giving more of my time and more of my money to other people. I don't deserve to have a house cleaner. I don't deserve to have a cook because that money could go to someone, around me or my kids or something. But the thing that you don't realize sometimes when you get stuck is when you do those things, you get so much more that you can give out. So it's really there. So here's my suggestion. In your own business, when you make a little bit of money, you got to look at it as I'm going to reinvest this in myself. Okay? You got to look at this as I'm going to reinvest this in myself. I'm going to go work out, with that extra hour. I'm going to make an extra hour. I'm going to hire a housekeeper so I'll have more time and I won't have to focus on that part of my life. I can focus on the thing that's going to make me go forward, which is losing 10 pounds, which is making an extra $1,000 a month, however necessary, because now I don't have to clean my house. I've got those extra 2 hours a week, whatever. If you're in your business and you're spending a lot of time, like you're the CEO, but you're doing a lot of the graphic design, what would it be if you could hire someone to do the graphic design? You could go to Fiverr right now and get decent graphic design. It won't be as good as what you do, but it'll be 80% as good. And that's good enough because it saves you the hours that you can focus on building your business or something in your life. So, sum it all up. I hope this has made some sense to you guys today. What I'm hoping to get across to you is it's okay to be temporarily selfish and to invest back in yourself, because those self-investments, both in time and money and the things that you can do, will give you more of both. So invest 30 minutes. Don't start with an hour. Don't start with 30 minutes. If you can take 2 to 3 minutes out of the day and you can do some exercises that make you sweat, I promise you'll end up gaining an hour in energy after about a month. I crap you not. You will. If you invest in something where someone's helping you around your house and they're doing some of the work that you're doing right now, it may seem like you can't afford it right now, but what's funny is when you gain that extra time, what can you do with that time that's going to bring more income into your system? So I'm telling you, it is okay to be a little selfish. But examine those things and say, if I'm a little selfish now, instead of putting that money into my kids' college fund, can I do something that investment turns into time that I can make more money for my kids' college fund? What are those things that you can do, those investments that you can make into yourself that make you infinitely better, and that 1 year from now, let's just start 90 days from now, you're going to be a lot better. 180 days from then, you're going to be a lot better. A year from now, though, just getting those hours, think about what it is to have an extra hour to 2 hours per week, what that adds up into in a year if you're focused on what you need to do during those 2 hours. Think about what an extra $100 to $200 a week means to you if you stack that up in a year. It will absolutely blow you away. And most of the time, you can't get those things by working harder or giving more to other people. You've got to get those things by investing in yourself so that you can do more of the things that actually matter and that make an impact. So it's one thing, and I'll just end with this. I learned a long time ago, it's one thing for me to devote 2 to 3 hours working in a charity and actually getting my hands dirty in those things. But what happens if I can take those 2 to 3 hours, work in my business, and make an extra $5,000 to $10,000 and donate it to the charity? Those are the things that I started to realize. That makes an impact, and for me, it makes an even bigger impact than I could make if I had my hands dirty there. So I'm not telling you that any of the stuff that you're doing right now is bad. Quite the contrary. What I'm asking you to do is stop being so guilty about investing time in yourself in these things that you think are selfish. They're not. They're things that are going to get you more. So, Ben here, this is a little longer than my normal, but I thought it was important. I hope this made sense. I want to hear what you have to say in the comments below. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button. I don't think it even actually says subscribe. I'll have to go look. But it's a live notification button that anytime I go live, it'll send you a notification right away so you can come watch these. I hope you'll do that. I hope you enjoyed that. This comes from a place of love from me because I see so many smart people out there that just can't get ahead because they're so ingrained in these patterns and they feel guilty about investing in themselves so they can grow. You have my permission. I hope you'll give yourself permission to invest in yourself so that in the end of it, you've got more to give other people. So, Ben here from Fearless Social, fearlessprofit.com, and I hope you enjoyed today, and I'll talk to you really soon. All right.